I built an overworld blaze spawner connected to the nether by a massive stone bridge, transformed the nether portal, and died. Twice. But the series isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. Making this video is one heck of a ride and I can't wait to show you. Welcome to episode 3 of my Minecraft Hardcore No Mining Challenge series. Going to the nether is scary, so I decided to gear up. I traded with the armorer until I got a diamond chestplate using iron to get my emeralds. I then turned one of my farmers into a toolsmith and worked on his trades. While I was doing that, I prepared some materials to go to the nether. Eventually, I got my diamond chestplate. I also grabbed a helmet, completing my diamond set. I'll keep wearing the gold boots for the nether though, so piglins stay friendly. Next, I did some exploring. I wanted to find rune portals for gold to trade with piglins and obsidian for the portal. The first thing I found though was a sunken ship. It had some lapis and my first diamond of the series. I then continued, finding another sunken ship. This also had some decent loot. I found a village with the worst loot chest I've ever seen, then finally found my first rune portal. It was underwater, which was a little annoying. I took the gold, but decided it would take too long to mine the obsidian underwater, so I left. I continued searching, and found this crazy terrain. I'll have to do something here in a future video. Well, I kept looking and found a rune portal at the entrance of a cave. I was able to get in without breaking any banned blocks and took everything. I pillared up, and decided it was taking too long and I already had enough gold, so I went home. To get the rest of the obsidian I needed, I used my pond I found earlier. It took way too long, but I finally got it all. I traded for some arrows and a bow, made the bow better, repaired my sword and boots, then built the portal and headed into the nether. Even though I was pretty geared, I was concerned. You see, I haven't played Minecraft since the nether update and wasn't sure what new dangers lurked. Despite my trepidation, I forged on. The best way to learn is by doing, and I was about to do a lot of learning. My goal in the nether is to get to a blaze spawner. I did some scouting in a creative world with the same seed, and found one about 700 blocks away. Sorry if you don't like that. I just didn't want to spend hours looking only to go hundreds or thousands of blocks further than I needed to. Besides, I still have to find a way to get there. I carefully dug through, bridged over, and traversed the terrain, and found something I wasn't looking for. A bastion. I didn't know much about them, only that they had cool loot protected by piglins. What I didn't know was that bastions have a special type of piglin called a brute that is much more powerful than regular piglins. More on that in a second. Before heading in, I traded with some guys outside trying to get a fire res potion. I got one and headed in. At first it went great. Using blocks as protection, I easily took out the early resistance. I found some cool loot, including a piece of ancient debris. I kept making my way through, looting like mad. So far, it was easy, and most of the piglins went down in 2 hits. I still hadn't even been touched, so I felt confident, starting to travel freely and fighting as I went. That's when a brute snuck up on me. He did not go down in 2 hits, or even 3 hits, but I did. 3 hits from him, and it was over. It was only episode 3, and I had already been killed by 2 guys with axes. So what now? I don't want to be done with this world, so I'm making up my own game mode. I like that hardcore brings serious consequences to dying, but I don't like that I lose the whole world. My solution? I made a world backup after episodes 1 and 2. I'll continue doing that and use those as save points. That way, I still lose progress if I die, but the world isn't gone. I'll call it kinda hardcore. Comment if you can think of a better name. So it was back to the beginning. I only lost around an hour and a half of progress, and I knew what I was doing now, so I quickly got back to where I died before and was ready to conquer the bastion that previously killed me. I did, watching out for brutes, and found lots of loot. Notably, a total of 3 ancient debris. Because I can't mine, bastions will be the only way for me to get that, I think. This was a good start. I continued making my way, avoiding any ore that I ran into, and eventually found the fortress. I made my way in and witherproofed the immediate area and said hello to some of the locals. Then I killed the blazes and lit up the spawner. After that, I got the layout of the build figured out. Then I ran home for supplies. On the way back to the spawner, I made the path a little safer. Once I was back at the spawner, I got back to work. To stop the blazes from hitting me while building, I kept a temporary ceiling. I came up with a design using lava and another portal for the farm. It's incredibly simple, and I'm sure someone else has done it, but it's effective. After building the farm portal, I went through to move it to the exact chords in the overworld. Unfortunately, because of my Y level in the nether, I spawned in a cave. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, but I can't mine any of the blocks down there besides dirt. I looked around for a long time and was just about to give up on finding an exit when I noticed some dirt in the ceiling next to the portal. I decided to give it a try, and lo and behold, it led to a surface lake. I was free. I built a new portal in the exact chords of the non-farm nether side portal multiplied by 8. I then did the same for the farm portal and tested both. They worked, so I built the overworld side of the farm. It's also really simple. Just a short chute with some hoppers at the bottom and slabs and trapdoors so the blazes don't aggro on me. The only other thing I need to add is vines to stop entity cramming. Otherwise, this side is all done. Don't worry, I'll make it pretty later. Now that the overworld side was done, I was free to finish the farm in the nether. I quickly did that, placing the lava, finishing the chamber, and cleaning up the look with nether brick. Completing the top was a little annoying because the blazes kept shooting me, but eventually I finished it. I then cleaned up the outer area and was ready to move on to the next step, the bridge. But I didn't have all the resources I would need, so it was gathering time. First up, blackstone. A few quick stacks later and that was done. Next, shroom lights. I need them for the underwater portion of the pillars. A quick stack later, done. Next, it was back to the overworld to smelt up stone, get dark oak, cobblestone, and soul lanterns. I wasted all my bone meal figuring out you need 4 dark oak saplings, so I ran off to get more. While I waited for that to grow, I upgraded my sword to sharpness 4. Enough of the stone was done smelting, so I filled my inventory to bring it to the nether, along with cobblestone and stone bricks. I dropped it off and those 3 items were done. Then I headed home to complete the last 2 items. I quickly crafted the soul lanterns. The dark oak tree finally grew, so I chopped it down. Then I crafted up the last of the dark oak fences. I decided to smelt more stone because I didn't know how much I would need, and I didn't want to run out in the middle of the building. I AFK'd the cobble generator while waiting, but stopped when I heard a strange noise. A wandering trader had spawned right outside. So I traded with him, getting mangrove propagules and packed ice. I'm really glad that he showed up because the mangrove wood was integral to a build later in the video. Eventually, I filled my inventory with the smelted stone and some cobblestone and headed to the nether. I moved all the items to the overworld and started building. Enjoy the time lapse. Finally, it's done. This series is the first time I've really tried building in Minecraft and taken the time to make things beautiful. I have to say, it's worth it. I'm excited to get better at building as the series progresses. Anyway, I AFK'd the farm for 10 minutes and it produces a lot of blazes. I only got 20 blaze rods, but I don't have a looting sword, and some certainly died to entity cramming. Once the vines are in and I have a looting sword, I think this farm will be amazing. After my AFK test, I decided to loot the nether fortress for some reason. Nothing of note occurred, but here is me opening every chest I looted. After that, I cleaned up the spawner area and entered some more. At this point, I initially thought I was done with the episode. I even made my end of episode world backup. But something kept nagging at me. It felt unfinished. Eventually, I realized why. The nether portal on the blaze end looked amazing, but the portal next to my house was about as basic as could be. I had to finish both ends. So I came up with a bold and original design that shows off the portal instead of hiding it. The best part? I only needed 3 base materials: mangrove, obsidian, and crying obsidian. I already had some crying obsidian from trading earlier, so I moved on to the mangrove. They have to be the most annoying tree to cut down. You don't have to feel that pain though thanks to this time lapse. I did work out that using shears made the whole process easier. At the end, I just burned down all the extra stuff. With the mangrove done, I only had 1 material left: obsidian. I asked myself, what's the easiest way to get obsidian? Beating the game, of course. I already had the blaze rods, so I just headed to a warped forest and got the ender pearls. I then geared up and threw my first eye of ender. A short sail later, and I was on top of the fortress. Problem time. Usually people just dig down into the fortress. I can't do that because naturally occurring stone is on my mining ban list. So I have to find a cave that goes directly to the stronghold. I spent the better part of an hour looking around, mainly focusing on underwater caves, and eventually found a path. To prove it's legit, here's me showing the unbroken path as a time lapse. Once I was in, I started my search for the portal room. I had to fight many mobs, but eventually found it. Then it was time to do one of the most satisfying things in the game. Nice. I was filled with trepidation, but I headed in. Things were going well at first. I easily took out the first few towers, but then 3 things happened. I don't know the strategy for breaking crystals by hand, so I fell. Then I missed my bucket clutch. And finally, I looked at an enderman. And then I died. Again. But I persevered. I reloaded my last save state, collected more ender pearls, re-geared, and headed back for the stronghold. This time, I wouldn't fail. I quickly found my way back. That's when I started noticing some strange things. Blocks were missing. Some were laying on the ground where I had mined them last time. Chests I had looted last time were missing items. My achievements acted like it was the first time, but the world seemed to remember my last run. The final straw of strangeness happened when I found all my items on the ground where I died last time. How could this be? I'm in hardcore. My last world was hardcore. I copied a new save file in. This doesn't make sense. I spent some time thinking about it, and I think I know what happened. I didn't delete the old save file when I copied in the new one. I saved over it and clicked replace the files in the destination. I think that caused the old world to get merged with the new one. Let me know in the comments if this is a known glitch or if I discovered something new. Anyway, I put the old items in a chest for now. Maybe I'll put them in a museum or something later. Then I turned my attention back to the fight. I quickly took out the other towers. I had another close call because of an accidental bucket placement and getting hit by the dragon. But I survived and eventually defeated the dragon. I collected the egg, cleaned up my inventory, then headed to the outer end. I won't bore you with the wandering and bridging. After only 5 minutes, I found the first end city. It was tiny and didn't have a ship, but it still had loot and shulker shells. I immediately crafted up my first box. Man, I love these. I kept searching, and only 10 minutes later, I found the next city. This one was huge, and more importantly, it had a ship. So I pillared my way up. It's safe to do that at the bow of the ship. No shulker can reach you from there. I got my elytra and some awesome loot from the ship, as well as some obsidian. Then I flew over and looted the main city. Then I flew, using the rockets I brought from home, until I found a gateway. I flew right in. It definitely only took 1 try, and was back at the main island. I then grabbed all the obsidian I needed, remember that's the reason why I'm here, and headed home. Then I put away my loot and used the gold I'd found in the end cities to trade for more crying obsidian. It was the only material I wasn't sure if I had enough of. I quickly got it, and now the only thing left was to build. I wanted to show off how cool the portal itself was. I also wanted it to be as big as possible. I hope you like it. And it's done! We've accomplished a lot this episode. We found some cool terrain, built a blaze spawner and an awesome bridge, persevered through setbacks, defeated the Ender Dragon, got an elytra, and built a cool nether portal for the base. And we did it all following the rules of our no mining challenge. Who needs mining? For all you awesome people who made it to the end of the video, I have a question. What was the first version of Minecraft you played and the first thing you built? Mine was 1.2.5, and I think the first thing I built was a wheat farm. I'm excited to read your answers in the comments. See you in the next one.